Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Feed and Focus for Remote Work and Digital Nomads podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance coach, and just someone with a lot of passion for helping you guys to learn how to use different tools from the fields of integrative health, of elite peak performance, of nutrition, helping you to learn these tools that are available to you in your environment, in your habits, in your lifestyle, available to you right now, helping you to use this to feel, look, and do your absolute best. And now that I'm working a lot on my marketing, a person who's helping me with marketing asked me, but what is the problem that you are helping people to solve, Angela? What is the main problem? And, when I think about that, analyzing all my work and what I went through, and what people are usually looking for when they come and check out my content and apply it, I think that's the main problem that I'm solving is helping people. And that's probably actually what the main job of a coach is, helping people to get unstuck and to move forward and to make progress and to change how you feel and to change how you look, to grow, to have a different life experience, right? To feel like you are progressing, developing, and getting unstuck, getting things done, and using tools to develop, to increase motivation and focus and energy to get unstuck, right? To get things done, to feel on fire, to start progressing and changing your life. That's what I help people to do. I help people to get unstuck, delivering all these different tools. And today, I'm going to deliver to you not a story time coming up on Friday, where I'm going to have a little bit more time to edit it and think of show notes, etc. So today I want to deliver to you a tool of caffeine or coffee. And not just, to tell you that coffee, works for certain things, but also how you can modulate, how can you adjust the amount of caffeine in a ways that you didn't think of before to help you to get more focus and get more mental and physical energy, at least the perception of that, but without the side effects, without the increased anxiety or a little bit increased feeling of stress and pressure or jitters, right? Today, we're going to talk details about caffeine. So if you are someone who loves the caffeine, but also if you notice that you do have, some jitters and a little bit more stress than you'd like to experience, and you're kind of a little bit more on edge, but maybe that's not what you are looking from caffeine. Let's talk about how you can modulate the amount of that caffeine and also the amount of caffeine in regular drinks to give you more energy, but without unnecessary stress that you might start to experience or anxiety. So let's start with the amount of caffeine that is recommended for the benefits, but to not get into anxiety and into stress. Now, obviously, everyone is a little bit different, and especially when it comes to caffeine, different people have different sensitivity, and caffeine affects people in a different way. I'm on a very sensitive side, so my dose is on the side of very, very minimal. Some people do okay with more caffeine. So it is recommended to have the good effects of caffeine, to have 100, 200 milligrams of caffeine per day. If you're shooting for 300 and 400 milligrams of caffeine, then you are increasing your chances to get into stress and anxiety. And obviously with more caffeine, you have more chances to disrupt your sleep. That is the major anti-anxiety, anti-stress cure or reliever of stress, right, and pressure in our lives. So it kind of has this double effect. If you overdo your caffeine, you're more anxious and more stressed, and also you don't sleep that well. And sleep is the major anti-stress tool that we do every day. So 100 milligrams, 400 milligrams. In fact, a little bit over 400 milligrams, I think it's around like 450 milligrams of caffeine. They use it in studies to induce anxiety in people because anxiety, it's very unpredictable state, but in order to study it, you need to make it predictable. And so researchers use caffeine to induce anxiety in people to study it. Now, these numbers don't tell you much. It's not like you're measuring your caffeine intake. Probably your coffee brand, if you buy it yourself, or your coffee cup in your coffee house, it doesn't even say the amount of caffeine in your coffee. Starbucks, our favorite Starbucks is one of the most caffeinated coffee shops. And you know why? Because the more caffeine you consume, the more side effects of jitteriness, anxiety, stress, and crash you experience, the more there is probability of you to get more coffee in Starbucks and to increase their profits. I don't know if they did it on purpose. Maybe yes, maybe not. I wasn't, consulted at the designing phase of Starbucks drinks, but Starbucks is hands down one of the most caffeinated coffee houses out there. So if, for example, a shot of espresso, this like the smallest coffee you can get, it's like 30-40 milliliters. So the shot of espresso is usually about 50-60 milligrams of caffeine. In Starbucks, it's more like 70 to 80. And then obviously with each drink, the amount of that caffeine goes up and up and up and up. And so the biggest Starbucks drinks like Starbucks venti, especially if you ask for additional espresso shot in that venti, that goes to 450 milligrams of caffeine. So you basically inducing anxiety if you do drink that, especially if it's with a lot of sugar. Yeah. You guaranteed to have more anxiety, bigger crash, more stress throughout the day. Like you're just going to feel more stressful. Like your day is more stressful. You are more stressed. So Starbucks venti is about 400 plus milligrams of caffeine. A shot of espresso, regular one, a small one, is 50-60 milligrams of caffeine. Again, Starbucks one is about 70-80. If you brew your coffee at home, like regular caffeinated coffee, let's say in a regular coffee machine, you're probably going to get about 80-150 milligrams of caffeine per cup of that coffee. And if you drink, a couple of those cups, obviously you double the amount, and you're getting closer and closer to anxiety. If you, like I have a small coffee machine and it holds 4 cups, those like indicators how many cups it holds. So it's 4 cups and I actually drink the whole thing throughout the morning. But what I do, I don't want to be consuming, 400 milligrams of caffeine. So what I do, I mix decaf coffee in that machine where, the coffee goes, and caffeinated coffee, mostly decaf. So 4 spoons of really big spoons of coffee. That's what I put in that 4-cup coffee machine. And 3 of those are decaf and only 1 of them as caffeinated. So I'm probably just getting about maybe 70 to 100 caffeine from that whole coffee machine when I drink all of it, because most of it is decaf. So that's how I modulate my caffeine. I also consume a little bit of matcha as a supplement. I just take a half a teaspoon, probably even third of a teaspoon. It's also gonna have around maybe 50 milligrams of caffeine, and I eat some cacao products, right? So over the course of the day, I probably do consume about 200 milligrams of caffeine with chocolate, with matcha, and caffeine in my coffee. If I were to just drink caffeinated coffee, I would probably consume closer to, between 300-400 milligrams of coffee. So that is borderline anxiety, right? And I noticed that the fact that when I would drink caffeinated coffee, I would feel a little bit of a nudge and anxiety, etc. And I would have all this energy, but not necessarily accomplishing things. Like I'm all over the place, jittery, excited, and with a lot of energy, but not really able to sit down and do some productive work. And so when I switched to mostly decaf, I noticed that, I have this energy, this tingling energy raising, but I do not have that anxiety, that edge anymore. Plus consuming products like matcha actually have different compounds, like specifically L-theanine, that increases the chill molecules in your brain, things that make you feel calm and at peace, things like GABA or serotonin. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but matcha does that. So consuming that also is my decaf caffeinated coffee also helps. But the point of this is, guys, for you to realize that, again, here you have an espresso shot is about 50-60 milligrams. Regular coffee shop, Starbucks is more. If you have a cup of coffee, like 1 cup of coffee regular size, it's probably around 150, especially if you get it in a coffee house at home, maybe 100, because usually at home we brew coffee that is weaker. And if you go again for the biggest drinks, like you really shooting yourself in the foot, you're going to have bigger crash and more anxiety and more stress. A couple of things that I'm doing at home, as I mentioned, I mix decaf and caffeinated coffee. So it is mostly decaf, 3 spoons, and just 1 spoon of caffeinated coffee. In a coffee shop, what I do is I order decaf coffee and I order additional shot of espresso. And sometimes I take the whole shot, sometimes half of it, depending on the shot, depending on the time of the day, because I don't consume caffeine after 12 p.m. Usually by 10 a.m. I'm done. And so I order decaf and a shot of espresso and I mix it like that. If again, I have my morning coffee, I'm having my morning coffee in a coffee shop. If it's afternoon, it is strict decaf, nothing else. So you can also modulate that amount of caffeine. Some people just, coffee makes me jitter, I'm just gonna quit. But coffee does have this other good effects. It does help you to focus. It does have some health benefits. So maybe instead of just quitting it, reduce the amount, just like that. Decaf and caffeinated, you can mix it. I don't know why they don't do such thing. Maybe because it's kind of complex to package it, etc., to measure the exact amount of caffeine. But at home, you can do it. You can buy decaf and caffeinated and mix to reduce the amount of that caffeine, but still have some, right? In a coffee shop, you can order decaf and a shot of espresso, so you have just the tiny amount of caffeine you need, and that's it. And again, you're not going to experience that much of a crash. You're not going to feel that anxious, that stress, and your sleep is not going to be as disturbed, because the amount matters. Just like with everything, with food, with exercise, with sleep, the amount matters. And it's not enough to just eat something or sleep a little bit. You just need a specific dose to get the optimal effect. With caffeine, again, just experiment. Maybe try to get today only 1 shot of espresso in your favorite coffee house, right? Just order decaf and order 1 shot of espresso and mix them and see how you feel. Try different things at home. Again, purchase decaf and caffeinated. And this is, guys, very practical, because I want you to also understand that you can do the same thing with many tools. Like if you get a supplement, there are a lot of brain supplement, and it makes you too anxious, jittery, and just like all over the place. You just don't feel good. Instead of promised focus, you get anxiety all over the place or just very hyper. You can also adjust the dose. You can take that pill, divide it in half, and get only half, or even a third. My brain is very sensitive to that. So I always notice I need to take half of the portion or even third of the portion. And sometimes it still doesn't work. But please do realize that some things will work for you as it says on the label, and some things you'll need to adjust. And you might need to make it less. You might need to make it more. With, more be on a cautious side. Sometimes it is better. Sometimes not so good, meaning sometimes when you get more amount, it's exactly the amount that you need at the moment, and sometimes when you get more, you get all the side effects, right? But it is very adjustable, and that's where a professional can help you, right? When I recommend certain brain supplements, I give the recommended dose and ask people how they feel, and then I help them to adjust it. Also, we experiment with times of the day, because that matters, or whether they've eaten or not, because that also matters for the effect that we are looking for. So that experimentation done in a proper way, when you measure the results, that's really helpful, and it helps you to find the tools that actually work perfectly for you in this form, in this amount, and then you'll find other tools that don't work for you in any amount. But if you try something and it really doesn't work, maybe the amount matters, maybe the time of the day, maybe something else, right? And that's the main point also. Yeah, caffeine, just know your dose and realize that you have much more flexibility, that you realize you don't have to quit, but maybe adjust the dose. And with other tools, realize the same thing. You don't have to do it exactly the same way that somebody told you to do. Every tool has many ways to apply it. And for you, it can be a different way. If you are interested in such details, schedule a call and ask my opinion about different tools that you might be using and you are not necessarily sure that you're using them in the most optimal for you way. I have more than a decade of coaching experience in nutrition and performance and integrative health. And if I don't know the answer, I know where to find the right answer, who to consult, etc. So schedule that call. The link is in the show notes. And till then, just experiment with different amounts of coffee and see how you feel. And if you have some feedback, I'd really love to get it, either via email or on my Instagram at 1000 here, Jan. Try, experiment, let me know how you did. And that's it for today, guys. Till tomorrow, experiment with caffeine, and I'll talk to you very soon. Have an awesome day.